All right, so I have seen these video podcasts effectively from some of the guys that I watch. And I've wanted to try this out because when I take these drives, especially because I'm on the road, probably driving 2 or 3 hours a day, thanks Los Angeles for that, I realize I have a lot of the brainstorming with my podcasts. So I decided to just record one. Let's see how this happens. There's a lot of clear thoughts that I always get on the road that I forget to write down when I get to where I'm going. Thanks to ADD, I can't always seem to stay on the topic. So might as well record these brief thoughts and then maybe just kind of reconnect them later on. But here we go. So recently, I went to get my testosterone level checked. I called my doctor because I didn't know what the hell that even meant because I've just been hearing a lot about it on social media. So I called my doctor and I told him, hey, I would like to get my testosterone levels checked because I'm in the middle of prep, and I've noticed over the last 2 months, because I've been 100% dialed in to the exact macros, exact water intake, making those behavioral changes that go from being off season to on season. And I feel like my body has never performed better. It's pretty obvious too in the pictures, to the point where I'm wondering, holy shit, my testosterone levels they have to be out of the roof. There's no way I'm getting these results without a high level of testosterone. And if you guys have seen the most recent social media ads, YouTube ads, the whole 9 yards, as well as just discussions between people, you would see like it ranges anywhere from 200 to 1,000 nanograms per deciliter. That's like the average, for the average amongst levels. And I'm going to put it in the actual podcast of what they're measuring, the nanograms. It's a pretty cool hormone that they actually measure. But when I got my levels, when I got them, they ended up being at 474 nanograms per deciliter, which you could tell fits into that 200 to 1,000 range. But if you were to have been on social media a little while, YouTube, and been in the gym a lot lately, right? Let's say that's like your new niche that you're looking up, you would think that that's low. And it doesn't matter if you think it's low or not, right? What matters to me is what initially triggered my thought into it, which is when I saw that level, I too said, wow, that's low. It got me really thinking. 2 years ago, I didn't think that was low. I didn't even know what in God's green earth was measured in nanograms per deciliter. And if I were to take a step back from my physical body into this realm and look at and just make an observational 3D view into my body and my person and this movie per se, I'd be wondering, why the hell did Alan all of a sudden now think that level is low? Why do I, in lieu of that thought of thinking it's low, think that I need some kind of replacement, and now I feel deficient? What I find even more frightening about this is if I was 15 years younger, a 20-year-old Alan, very impressionable, very insecure. And to be honest, I definitely was, trying to get these gains and thinking that was the only way I was going to be accepted as a man or have any kind of masculinity. I would immediately jump to messing with my hormones, right? Because there's a lot of things that goes on with these ads, this Instagram programming. if you observe these ads, if you observe some of the target marketing, first of all, what these target markets do is they play on your emotions, because emotions provoke you to buy. Emotions, depending on how they're stirred, depending on how they're gaslit, enables you to do behaviors that you otherwise would think are immature or completely unnecessary. But when we get emotions tied behind our actions and our thoughts and our influences, we almost throw logic out of the door completely. And I remember when I was in high school, again, insecure, very impressionable, thinking that gains were the only way that I was going to get to be getting laid or being respected as a man. I remember I was like, oh my God, I need to get in steroids. I don't care if I jeopardize my hormones or I look fucked up when I'm 50 or 60. That's old anyways. I don't give a shit. What I care about is how I look right now and feel right now. And when you have all these Instagram ads and everything trying to tell you to treat your symptoms and not your levels, which I'm not against, right? But I can imagine, let's say I had all these bad habits, like not eating correctly because I'm on social media, eating all this processed crap. Let's say I'm completely yo-yo dieting, cutting, bulking, no carb, keto, gluten-free, vegan, paleo, lick almonds, all that other great shit, right? I would think now that the reason why I've suffered so much, even though I've done everything correctly, is because, oh my God, my testosterone levels are low. That's what it's been this entire time. And what scares me is this. When you start messing with your hormones, when you start messing with the chemical inside of your body that provokes your emotions, aka the catalyst towards making non-logical action, I can't help but to wonder what the fuck and look into it and wonder why. I am not denying that I might get into testosterone replacement something later on, because look, in the mere research that I've done, I see a lot more benefit to it in the long run, right? People like Joe Rogan, someone I absolutely look up to as a role model for men. He's a big advocate of it, and I can't help, well, by that merit, to look into it and see a lot of benefits for myself. But here's another thing too to think of, another layer of this programming, another layer of this observation that I'm starting to see. The search engine that we use to look all of our information, the default programming on how we use Facebook statuses and Instagrams and how people manipulate statistics to make numbers and perspectives work for them, right? Like all these reports, and they're all from like the same search engines, right? They're all from like Google. They're all from the same shit. And yeah, you can make DuckDuckGo. I mean, what I'm saying is the search engines are always the same. The default questions are always the same. And the majority of this research comes from these ads, right? Like I remember, I forgot what it was I was looking at TRT, like maybe like half of all the TRT articles, quote unquote, that I saw on Google or on anything else, and ended up advertising oh hey, well, if you want a doctor to start seeing if you get prescribed for it, click on this link below. And so it's like an ad, right? Look, again, I might get on it later, and I probably will get on it later. To be real honest with you, I would like to perform better for a little bit longer, but I feel like I'm maxing out my current testosterone use. Yeah, 474 is a little low compared to like professional bodybuilders and all these other people that are on or higher. That's fine. I don't care. I have a roommate whose level's at 700, and he doesn't have anywhere near the physique that I do. He doesn't perform as well in the gym as I do. His fatigue levels are significantly higher than mine. And so it's like, it makes me wonder, if I'm low, what does that say about anybody? Or what does that say about that scale to begin with? It doesn't make sense to me, right? And because things don't make sense, I have a natural questioning attitude. And here's another thing. It's interesting to see how I start putting my opinions out about things like testosterone and TRT and my T levels and whatnot. And it's crazier to see how people respond in lieu of it. And again, this is another situation where I kind of started myself reacting. I started kind of observing my emotions and thoughts and seeing how I kind of got triggered. And I started observing the reactions. I started seeing the repetitive nature in people's responses. 4 or 5 different people all kind of had the same responses. They're all from 5 different realms of life, right? One of them's in the Navy, another one I met through training, another I just have random people that I networked with on Instagram. And they're like, oh, well, these are the levels. You should check your doctor, blah, blah, blah. And what's crazier, too, is that if you look at the story that I originally posted on, I think I might have highlighted in my OCB highlighted story portion. I was talking about my testosterone, right? Talking about checking it, talking whatever. And there was a moment there that kind of fucking scared the shit out of me, where I'm just like, well, you should go check your doctor, blah, blah, blah. And I kind of like went into this robotic phase. And you could just tell I wasn't present with my message when I said, well, you should check your doctor locally. It was like I went into this programming of making this default disclaimer. And it's crazy, right? Where sometimes we are saying things just in the moment as a default response. And if I can default response to say something in a robotic nature of something as simple as, you should go check with your doctor. How else did that show up in my program and thinking of other perspectives? Such as, when I saw my level at 474, my default response was, holy shit, that's low. Holy shit, I probably need to get on. Holy whatever, right? And how many of those other behaviors, like when I started talking about TRT, the same responses that I see on YouTube videos and Instagram comments and the whole 9 yards is the same shit that I was getting in my DM. Right? So that's what makes me really wonder, guys. Obviously, there's a lot more to look into this. And I think the more, when we get into that, that's probably what I'll get into. I'll probably make an episode, a more clear episode. But this is that nature, right? This is why I get confused. This is why I start questioning what's being projected onto us and how we're being programmed to view fitness. Because as someone who has a characteristically labeled low testosterone, I'm performing optimally more significantly better. I don't know if that's right, but than I've ever had in my life. So what is optimal? What is low? What are these symptoms? And are people targeting depression by trying to sell you hormones? Look, I'll tell you right now, you might not be able to control your hormones now. And if you can't control your emotions now, if you can't sit there in your feelings and understand why you have to sit into them, then I'm going to highly, highly recommend you take a million different looks into your life and how you take hormones, if that's what your default answer is. Because once you start altering hormones, once you start getting into the teeter-tottering of emotions, I can only imagine what can happen if you don't do the emotional work first, and then all of a sudden have your emotions and your hormones all fucked around artificially. Just it. All right, guys. Hope you guys like this little talk. And until next time, deuce.